Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Kara, and I'm currently living in the Dominican Republic. Since it's the beginning of the year, I'm sure many people are thinking about their resolutions and goals for the upcoming year. So maybe you're thinking about moving, you're thinking about traveling more, or maybe you're thinking about a career change. If you are specifically thinking about teaching English abroad, this video is for you. Today I'm going to be starting a series on how to get started teaching English abroad as a foreign language. Today will be part 1, and we're going to talk all about how to get TEFL certified and what to look for in a TEFL course. In part 2, we will talk more about how to find jobs, where to look, and where I found my jobs. And then in part 3, I will give you tips and some questions to ask your future employers about those jobs before you move abroad. Make sure to give this video a like and subscribe below so that you don't miss the rest of this series. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. When you first start looking at TEFL courses, as I noticed, you're going to notice that there are a lot of options out there. In fact, TEFL is an entire industry. There are a couple things that I would like to offer you guys as advice on what to look for in a course. I have 6 things that I will give you today, and the first one is absolutely non-negotiable, but the rest are more dependent on your personal choice. So let's get started with number 1. This is credibility. Will you receive an actual TEFL certification from an accredited program? This is the most important thing, because if your program or course is not accredited by an accrediting body or a higher institution, then you really don't have any real credibility when you show your TEFL certification to future schools and future possible employers. If you want to learn more about what a TEFL course requires to be accredited, I'm going to link an article below in the description. This article is from the program where I got my TEFL certification, and you can look into the requirements for a course to be certified. In general, according to the International TEFL Academy, where I got my certification, a course needs to have a minimum of 100 hours of coursework, a minimum of 6 hours of live practicum, which can include teaching a class or observing a class. It has to be accredited or recognized by an accrediting institution, and the professor of the course should have extensive credentials and experience teaching. Like I mentioned, the link to more information will be in the description below, so you can go ahead and take a look at that if you are interested in finding out more about the specifics that make a course accredited. Number 2, as mentioned in point number 1, your course should have a professor. This means your professor will be going through the course teaching as you are taking the course. Now, this professor needs to have experience. As I previously mentioned, they should have experience teaching abroad themselves. They should have preferably a master's degree, and that should be in a related subject such as TEFL or teaching English, something along those lines. Also, it's really important and very helpful to you if your professor is available and accessible to you while you are taking the course. So this means you can email them and they'll respond, or you can even set up a time to call them. This was a part of my course, which I will talk about in a later video, and it was very helpful. So let's move on to point number 3. So point number 3 is something that is more about your personal choice. And this is to consider whether or not the class is synchronous or asynchronous. So I'm sure by now we all know what those terms mean, but basically synchronous means you will be completing the course within a certain time frame. There are certain sign-up dates and deadlines, and your professor is going through the course with you. Asynchronous means you can sign up for the course anytime. It is always available on the website. it's always open, and you complete it at your own pace. Also, with the asynchronous course, you are not guaranteed to have the professor necessarily going through the course with you at the same exact time. So as I mentioned in point 2, I personally prefer the synchronous style because coming from college, I was just really used to that kind of structure. And it really is nice to have access to a professor who is teaching the course and who you can ask questions about the coursework and about their own experience. So point number 4 is whether or not your course will be online or in person. One TEFL certification I looked into was Oxford Seminars. I really was interested in their program because they had an aspect where there were weekly in-person meetings, and at that time I was fortunate enough to live in a city where they were going to be holding the course. Unfortunately, they canceled the course and I had to look for another option. So ITA, International TEFL Academy, the company where I received my certification, also offers courses on location. I did mine online, but they have options to go to a country, to travel, and to get hands-on experience teaching and working with students in that country. The cost for those courses is obviously higher because it involves travel, but it does help you get out on the field right away, which helps you get started with that experience. Tip number 5 is a course that has training or practicum hours required. So this is part of point 1. One of the requirements was a minimum of 6 hours of live practicum. That means you are in the classroom, you are observing or teaching the class. This is really important because it means you get experience before actually going out and teaching your own class. The course I chose with ITA required 20 hours of live practice. And at first, I wasn't sure where I was going to achieve these 20 hours. But fortunately enough, I lived near a university and I had contact with a group that met weekly with students specifically from Asian countries looking to better their English. And that was a conversation-based class. At first, I was just observing. I was participating in the conversations, occasionally speaking one-on-one with a student, but eventually I was leading some of the discussions. So ideally, this is how you would want your practicum to go. You start off observing, and then slowly, little by little, you get more involved until eventually you are the teacher or at least co-teaching the class. So finally, we are at point number 6. Point number 6 is job placement. So when I was first getting interested in TEFL programs, the first program I reached out to was a company that advertised job placement. So what this means is they have contacts of schools that they work with in a certain country who are looking for English teachers. These companies provide you with the TEFL certification as well as job placement after the TEFL course. So in part 2 of this series, I'm going to talk more about how to find a job. My company personally did not provide job placement services, but they gave us so many tips and helpful places to look for jobs that I did not feel that I was missing out. Ultimately, you have to decide whether each of these things are important to you. For example, online or in person, synchronous or asynchronous, and having a job placement service added along with the TEFL certification. So those are the 6 factors that I recommend taking into consideration when choosing a company or course to get TEFL certified. When it comes to what the actual course is like, that will vary based on which company you choose. I personally had a very great experience with ITA, International TEFL Academy, and I'll make another video completely about that experience. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new today and enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss part 2 and part 3 and the future videos I will be making about my TEFL experience. That's all I have for you guys today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!